Welcome everyone to the DAZN Boxing Show, brought to you by Transformers Rise of the Beast in theatres June 9th. Promises to be another blockbuster. Make sure you go and watch it. Talking of Beast, the man they nicknamed the Gorilla, John Ryder, is bidding to become England's first undisputed world champion in the four-belt era. But understand this, people, the task in front of him is a big one. He's going to the Lion's Den to take on, for me, not just the greatest fighter of this generation, arguably, I think, one of the greatest fighters of all time, Mr. Saul Canelo Alvarez.
Dear Saul, you're just a kid from Guadalajara, like so many of us are. A kid from our streets with nothing to lose. A kid who became something. The undisputed champion of the world. A kid with millions watching every punch and every fall, and thousands following in your footsteps. And with every new opponent, your mentality shines through. No boxing, no life. In darkness and light. Now, this is your moment. In your city, with your titles. But this is also for those that wear the flag. For the kids on our streets. For the kid that you are. You're still that kid from Guadalajara. The kid that became a king. The king is coming home.
No boxing, no life. Guadalajara, Mexico is the setting for a Cinco de Mayo showdown. Tomorrow it's fight night, but today we make it official as Canelo Alvarez and John Ryder hit the scales at the official weigh-in. And as ever, the DAZN Boxing Show has you well and truly covered. Here we go, people. This is it. It's weigh-in time. We're only one sleep away from the return of Saul Canelo Alvarez, and we've assembled the big boy team as well. Adi Oladipo, Barak Ak. We're going to be joined by a couple of champions soon as well. Darren Barker will join us, former IBF middleweight champion, and Jessica McCaskill, the current unified champ at 147 pounds. You know when you get your boxing calendar? Like I do this in the UK for soccer, or you got football, but I'm going to call it soccer because we're in America. I look at the fixture list and I'm like, okay, that's the one, that's the one. Canelo's that for me.
No doubt.
Canelo's that. It's guaranteed as well, isn't it? You get one in September, you get one in May. He guarantees.
You know, soccer can't compare to boxing, of course, but...
Well, we're not going to make that argument now.
That was low blow.
Yeah, we're not
straight out the gate. I mean, look, it's clear to say, look, Barack and I talked about it several times. When Floyd Mayweather walked in Canelo's dressing room after beating him, he said, when I exit the sport, you will be the face of boxing.
He said it to his parents. He said it to his parents.
Right.
Don't worry, he's only lost because it's me. After me, he's going to be the guy.
And he's right, isn't he? He's right. He is that guy. I mean, everything is sort of ticking high boxes with Canelo, whether it be pay-per-view numbers, whether it be Forbes money list. We'll talk about it in a minute.
He owns 2 dates a year.
All the belts, the full-weight world champion. Literally, this guy is tick, tick, tick. What's the want now then? Where's the hunger? Where does that come from?
He's going to create a new box to tick. Because think about this. Just a few years ago, we was joking about him moving up to 175. We was joking about him moving up to 200. And he almost fought Makabu recently. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? So every time he moves up and he accomplishes something, he creates another box to tick.
What do you guys make of the opponent? You know, I feel like every time Canelo announces an opponent, especially if the name on the other side isn't David Benavidez, there's complaints, right? This is a mandatory, though. What do you guys make of John Ryder as an opponent?
Look, I mean, when you think about resumes in boxing, right, let's be fair, let's be honest. There's no fight in all of boxing active today that even comes close to Canelo Alvarez's resumes. I'm talking about his accolades, titles, divisions, the type of fighters that he's fought. You know, I thought about something at a...
Yeah, we're seeing pictures there of Canelo.
John Ryder, 2013. He was fighting a guy that was 16-20, Yohan Bloyer. Okay. Right? You know what Canelo was fighting in 2013? Floyd Mayweather, 44-0. Right. At 23 years old. So that, just to put things in perspective here, these are the levels that these two guys are at.
See, when you say that, a lot of people would think maybe there's an underestimation to John Ryder. Is potentially Canelo underestimating? Are the fans underestimating John Ryder?
I mean, they have right to. They should. I mean, they should get the type of level of Canelo, the type of fighters that Canelo has fought, right? I mean, every single style you could think of, he's faced. You talk about southpaw, skilled. You talk about Billy Joe Saunders. You talk about Lara, who at the time was the boogeyman at 154. Right. Nobody wanted to fight him. So the guy has fought power fighters, long fighters, short fighters. There's nothing that John Ryder can bring to the table that Canelo hasn't seen, other than this is the theater of the unexpected.
That sounds so horrible, right?
It does.
Listen, underestimation means that he deserves more than we're estimating. No, he's not. We're not underestimating. We're putting him where he belongs. Look at his record. He's lost to guys that Canelo has destroyed. So if he wins, it'll be boxing. The theater of the unexpected. Yeah, it'll be boxing. It'll be something that happens. But we're not underestimating. We're judging him according to what he's done already.
You mentioned that Canelo fought Floyd in 2013. Before that is when he was last in Mexico. He goes back now to Mexico, 50,000 in front of him. Talk to me about the pressure that he's going to be under, not just to get the W, because they expect that. They want a stoppage. They want a knockout. Talk about how he handles that pressure.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, yeah, there should be a lot of pressure on him. He's back home. It's been a long time. But when you talk to Canelo, he loves pressure, right? He thrives off it. He told us literally, I like pressure. I fight better under it. I perform well under the lights. And this is like a homecoming. Yeah, there might be pressure with fans and family. I need tickets, access. But he's lived for this moment. I mean, he's a prideful Mexican. If you talk Canelo, yeah, he stays in San Diego, but this guy loves Mexico. He's living for this moment. He's ready to perform for his people. No pressure.
No, I don't agree. I believe this is the most pressure he's ever had. You know why? Because I know he acts like, oh, the people talk dirty about him because they compare him to their legend, Julio Cesar Chavez. So they kind of talk dirty about him because he's not like them. Look at him. He's a pretty boy. He's not like Chavez. He doesn't have too many bad press things. That,
are you kidding me?
The worst thing he's ever did was say mother effer. You know, he's talking English now. He learned curse words before any other words. You know, so he wants his people to love him. So how do you get your people to love him if you're not going to be a party guy like Chavez? You knock the man out in Mexico. And that's why he got pressure.
We were all at a massive fight, wasn't it? Arguably the biggest fight of the year. T-Mobile Arena for Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia. Everyone said the winner of that fight, Axe already laughing, he knows where I'm going, becomes the face of boxing. Is Canelo still the face of boxing, or is that torch been passed to Gervonta Davis?
Canelo's a guy that put 73,000 people against Billy Joe Saunders in Cowboy Stadium during a pandemic, right? So when you talk about face of boxing, there are many faces in boxing. There's the youth, there's the OGs, there's a guy the guys that are thriving right now. I think boxing has many faces, and Tank is one of those faces. But Canelo is still the face of boxing.
You know what sucks is that we make up these stupid terms. Like years ago, they wasn't saying Muhammad Ali, is he the face of boxing?
Well, that went without saying.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like it's sad that we have these pound for pound terms and all of these other, which is ridiculous. But come on, it's about, if you're going to talk about who's the face of boxing, who's the most popular, who sells the most, who can be mentioned in any other country and recognized, that's obviously Canelo.
Yeah, I feel like we've got so many epic battles going on. You two are about to have epic battles. Me and Ak, epic battles. We're going to hear from Manik Zamora in Mexico. That one's definitely an epic battle, but the biggest epic battle is this trailer that you're going to see right now. Transformers Rise of the Beast. Remember, in theatres June 9th.
For centuries, our kind has stayed hidden, but we've never faced anything like this. This is about the fate of all living things. Let them come.
Transformers Rise of the Beasts, only in theaters June 9th.
All right, Sergio, we are minutes away from the Canelo Alvarez, John Ryder weigh-in. We are inside Teatro de Gallardo. Did I say that correctly?
De Gallardo, pretty close.
Pretty close. The action's starting to pick up behind us. The crowd starting to fill in here. And it's been a pretty intense week already here in Guadalajara. The homecoming for Canelo Alvarez. First time in 12 years he has fought on Mexican soil. Nobody's enjoyed Guadalajara more this week than you have. What have you picked up on?
Viva Mexico. No, what I'm picking up on is that people love him. He's like the president here. Everywhere you go, they mention Canelo, but not as a boxer, but just as the humble champion that he is, the person, the giving person he is. And it's in the air, man. I mean, you can hear it in the background. I can barely hear what you're saying, which is a good thing. People love Saúl El Canelo Alvarez here.
You know, this is kind of the pinnacle of Canelo Alvarez's career. He's going to fight in front of 50,000 fans on Saturday against John Ryder. But you were someone that was there at the very beginning, weren't you?
I was. 2010, when I was going to fight Shane Mosley at the Staples Center. This handsome, red-headed, quiet, but confident Mexican was at the end of the dais, the end of the table, not saying much. But I noticed him. I said, Saúl Canelo Alvarez, I never seen you fight, but I hear a lot about you. You're my mom's favorite fighter. Which he really was.
Did you know back then he had this kind of potential?
No, I don't think no one knew. I think I knew that he was a Mexican star, but not a crossover star. And of course, he knocked out Baldomir that night, and the rest is history.
All right, so this fight is not without questions. Canelo Alvarez had the most difficult year of his career last year. He lost to Dimitri Bivol, the first time in nearly a decade that he had lost a fight. And then he beats Gennady Golovkin, but he doesn't beat him quite as dominantly as I think a lot of people expected. Then he has hand surgery on his left hand at the end of the year. Do you think we saw some signs of decline in Canelo Alvarez?
Of course. I mean, you're declining, I'm declining, everyone's declining. That's just human nature. But especially for fighters, especially for professional fighters that have been doing it since they were 15 years old, Mannix. I mean, this is a man that's had over 60 fights. He's been a warrior for that long. So the injuries accumulate. It's only natural. But he's still at the top of his game. That's the main thing. He's never been stopped. He's never taken a beating. And he's only lost to the absolute best. So is he declining? It's only human nature. But is he still one of the best in the world? Absolutely.
All right, so is this decline that you speak of something that John Ryder can take advantage of? John Ryder coming into this fight, coming off the best year of his career. He beat Daniel Jacobs. You should ask him about that. And then he gets a win over Zach Parker to become the mandatory challenger for Canelo. So can John Ryder take advantage of Canelo at this stage?
Like I told John Ryder, if he's going to be a monkey, be a gorilla. And he loved that line. And he knows that the stars need a line. Not only does he have to have luck on his side, but he has to be firing on all cylinders to get not only the perfect performance, but the help from the judges as well, unless he can get a knockout. But if Canelo's injuries are going to be a factor, if he's going to question whether that wrist is going to hold up, if anything else that he's questioning that we don't know about, these are things that John Ryder can take advantage of. And with his experience, his momentum, with his back-to-back wins, I mean, those are the stars aligning in somewhat. And he was talking a lot about destiny, man. It's the fact that, you know, he came up short against Callum Smith. Callum Smith got that a big opportunity. But if he would have got that opportunity then, John Ryder, he probably would have been ready. Now, with the momentum, with the stars aligning, he thinks this is a perfect time, and destiny is here for him.
What about the intangibles, though, in this fight? We've seen John Ryder all week long walking around the hotel as cool as can be, as calm as can be. He seems completely unfazed by the magnitude of this moment. In a way, that's understandable. John Ryder has been a road warrior for much of his career. He goes to the backyard of Callum Smith. He goes to the backyard of Rocky Fielding. But how is he going to hold up in that stadium with 50,000 fans going against him?
What I like about him, you said it's a quiet confidence, all right? So it's not that bravado, I'm going to come conquer the world. Quiet bravado, quiet confidence, destiny's on his side. We're going to find out. That's the only thing I can tell you.
All right, minutes away from the start of the weigh-in, 1 day away from Canelo Alvarez's return against John Ryder.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
It's going to get busy there. It's going to get very busy. One thing Mora asked, or Mannix asked, and Mora answered. He said, has there been slippage with Canelo? Have we started to see a slow decline? So this is the guy that's been a pro 18 years. He's been in tough fights.
I quit.
Has there been any decline whatsoever? You think he's still as good as he was against maybe Gennady Golovkin too? You think
Why wouldn't
that guy's still there?
He's more experienced. I mean, what slippage? Because he lost to a bigger guy. This is what I was thinking about.
No. Age can play a part. Hunger can play a part. There's a lot.
32 years
Hunger,
old.
he's won everything he could win. He's got more money in the bank than you could ever wish for. Is the hunger and desire still there to say, I want to still be pound for pound #1?
I think when you're that type of, like Creed, that type of fighter, hunger doesn't really go away. I mean, to your point, he has all the money he can use. He's bought. He likes fancy things. You see the toys that he buys, the Lambos and the the clothes and the houses. So, I mean, to go into that ring, he's already rich at this point. You see what he was doing to Callum Smith. It's not about money for Canelo at this point. It's about legacy, and he says it all the time. I mean,
Avni yielded him there. Billy Joe Saunders here. That was a really fantastic
broken socket, broken face. We all saw that, and that's the fight I was talking about earlier. 73,000 people fighting a Brit. So I mean, look, Canelo. Let's talk about his last 6 opponents. Anybody in boxing, I don't think, has a resume in the last 6 opponents.
No, I mean, you look at this and it's incredible, especially when you consider that at the start of this run against Callum Smith, there was no about 168 pounds. You fast forward to 2021 against Caleb Plant and he's undisputed. Yeah. I mean, that's what he's done. And then, as you say, the only blemish on there, Dimitri Bivol, who I think is the best 175 pounder.
Oh, but do you understand that 4 of those guys were undefeated?
Yeah.
You know, and the other guy who wasn't undefeated He beat him. That's it. That's Gennady Golovkin. Like, this guy went
That's
on
an extraordinary
That's an extraordinary
run, isn't it?
No,
Six
but a guy who's 5'8", he's small. He's smaller than every 160-pounder, and he's at 168, beating the undefeated champions.
Let's also talk about what happened to the opponents after. We haven't seen Billy Joe Saunders. Caleb Plant, though a good fighter, I mean, we all saw him recently lose against Benavidez. I mean, the guy, he puts damage on fighters that they're never the same, in my opinion, after fighting him.
What's the best win of that 6, do you think? What's the biggest win? Just so the best first and then the biggest.
It depends on what you mean by best, because the
Best in terms of when you look back in 30 years for the resume, which one is like, okay, that's the one for the resume, and what was the biggest win? I'm guessing biggest would be undisputed potentially.
I would say that Caleb Plant fight was probably the biggest because he became undisputed, you know, and that's never been done before, you know, by his countrymen. But Gennady Golovkin was probably was the best for him, the most important one, because of that rivalry was
Closing the chapter.
That's it. Like, you never have to mention his name with mine ever again. And I think that's what Canelo wanted.
And maybe we can skip Yojo, right? But before that,
that's another mandatory.
Another mandatory. I mean, Callum Smith, what he's done after Canelo, showing how great Canelo is. So, hell of a 6.
You know what's crazy? Obviously, in that graphic that we just showed you there, we didn't show you the 6 before that. And the 6 before that would include Gennady Golovkin. It would include Danny Jacobs, a run at 175 against Sergey Kovalev to become champion out there as well. So you could really look back at his last 18 fights.
He's really approaching, I'm sorry, but I used to say that Manny Pacquiao had 2 Hall of Fame careers, maybe even 3 in one career. He's approaching that, 2 Hall of Fame careers. If you separate his years, he got enough to go in the Hall of Fame 2 times.
Yeah, it's a crazy resume. It really is. John Ryder's resume obviously isn't that, but it's not too bad as well. There's a reason John Ryder's here, and there's a reason why he's got his opportunity as well, and that's because John Ryder's done really good in his last 6 fights. He's taken a step up. What do you make of John Ryder? In the UK, we laugh because we say he is Canelo. Like, when I look at John Ryder, it's like that. You know that Spider-Man meme of Spider-Man looking at Spider-Man? John Ryder's looking at Canelo and they're the same size. John Ryder, some people say, even looks more Mexican than Canelo.
that is true. They resemble one another. But honestly, I think it makes it worse for John Ryder because Canelo has used to fighting bigger guys, taller guys that know how to move. So it's a treat for him to fight somebody who is not longer than him, is about his size, and will be to his distance for him to land those big body shots. So I think this is a treat for Canelo in terms of the size.
Yeah, I think John Ryder has been extremely unlucky in a few of his big fights. Like, I thought he went to Liverpool and beat Callum Smith, who at the time was the ring-recognised #1 at super middle. Maybe not the best known #1, but the recognised #1. I think he won that fight, and Rocky Fielding early in his career as well. We're seeing the Danny Jacobs one here, the back end of last year. Maybe that's a result that a lot of people thought he shouldn't have got.
Absolutely.
So, you know, sometimes they say, you know,
he deserves it that
roundabouts,
way.
yeah.
Get it down the line.
You get it down the line, that's what they say. Let's have a look at John Ryder's last 6. And here we are, again, look, the one blemish on there is Callum Smith. That's the one. And that's the one I think he won as well. So, for me, it's an undefeated record. Clearly not the same as Canelo, but there's some good wins in there. Zach Barker on another broadcast away from home, if you like. Got the job done there, which put him into this position. Danny Jacobs there as well. Bilal Akawai there as well. Some good wins. Again, not Canelo, but solid.
And not to mention, look, he has a lot to gain here, right? Obviously fighting a chip on the shoulder. Always a guy when he's the underdog and nobody's giving him a shot. He's fighting with a chip on his shoulder. He has something to prove. So you always have that, and you always have what we say all the time. Look, this is boxing. Anything can happen on any given Saturday. Not likely. But he has a shot if anybody
How
does.
big? What are we talking? Because I've had this conversation with people and we've laughed and joked and we've compared it. Is it as big as Ruiz upsetting AJ? Are we going big in terms of Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson? Because we are talking about John Ryder going into Canelo's backyard here. How big an upset would it if this guy came undisputed?
It would be bigger than that. It would be bigger than that. And
bigger than Mike Tyson Buster?
No.
Okay.
I don't think it's anything.
That popularity, Mike Tyson's popularity outshines everything. So we can't ever compare that, you know. But in reality, Buster Douglas is a good fighter.
Yeah,
very good.
Right. And Ruiz is a very good fighter. And AJ is not one of the greatest fighters. He's not one of the best fighters pound for pound right now. Now we're talking about one of the best of this era, if not
the best of this era.
The best.
You know what I'm saying? All right. But, you know, there's a couple of guys that's really great. There's a couple of guys really great. Crawford's one of them. But yeah, okay. The best of this era. To lose to John Ryder, it would be way
In
way
Mexico?
bigger. Yes.
I joked to John and I said, look, I don't think there's enough security in Mexico to get you out of Mexico if you were to become undisputed in Mexico. But look, it's a good opportunity. And as you say, like, anything can happen in boxing. We've seen so many big upsets, and he's going in there off the back of 3 or 4 good wins as well.
Yeah, I mean, especially if we're talking about what you said, maybe the hunger isn't there no more. There's some sort of slippage.
And that's Canelo?
I don't really see it. No, what I'm saying, if what Adi was saying is true, maybe Canelo doesn't have the hunger anymore. Maybe there's the hope there for John Ryder where I'm getting this guy at the right time, but we haven't seen any slippage. We haven't seen him slow down. We haven't seen the power not be the same in his last few fights. So it's just far-fetched.
I'm sorry, I just thought of something brilliant. Who goes from fighting at 140 and goes all the way up to 168 and dominates? Most fighters move up in weight, but their last weight class that they go to, maybe if they're Nigel Benn or one of them, they might win a title, but they don't dominate and beat everybody and then stay there and continue to beat everybody. In the history of boxing, that's not done. That's what Canelo's doing.
We'll get to that. Maybe there's a couple of people.
Y'all just not thinking.
There's a couple of people
just like, damn, that was deep. That was a little too deep for me.
Look, so many fantastic pieces have been made about Canelo returning home to Mexico, right? This is what this story's about, Canelo going back there. And this piece by DAZN is fantastic. It's about Canelo's return to Mexico, and it's brought to you by Michelob Ultra.
Every time that Saul Canelo Alvarez fights, the world is watching.
Please welcome the first ever and only undisputed super middleweight champion of the world, Saul Canelo Alvarez!
And by TV, Ackenbrack have gone, and in steps a couple of champions as well. Former IBF middleweight champion Darren Barker, Jessica McCaskill here as well. Unified champ at 147 pounds. We're going to talk about what next for you as well. What's going on with Jess? She's been stripped of a belt. She's going to try and get that belt back. We'll have those conversations. How exciting is this Canelo fight against someone that you know very, very well in John Ryder?
I've got to level the playing field here a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
After the celebration and the fanfare.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that, right? Eh?
Yeah, but I get it. I understand. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Canelo. What he's done in the sport, what he's continuing to do in the sport is exceptional. And, you know, I think anyone in boxing appreciates what he's done. Look, it doesn't get much tougher. Talking about where with this rank, I do think this rank's above Tyson Douglas. You've got to remember, this is super middleweight boxing. Heavyweight boxing, you get caught with a shot, it's game over. So this would rank as a huge upset. But that's why we love this sport. There is the chance that every now and again, the underdog wins.
That's why we tune in, right? That no risk, no reward. And this is big risk.
Sport's so great.
But the reward, Jess, is so big, isn't it? Not only does he come back with all those gold, all that, he changed his life. It's incredible.
Yes, it definitely has the power to change your trajectory. You know, you could just be thinking, okay, I'm going to win this fight and then I'm going to go to another fight. But then, like, something massive could happen where you're fighting another champion or at another weight. I mean, anything can happen in boxing. We say that all the time, but we say that in the perspective of in the ring. Outside of the ring, anything can happen as well. All
right, let's have a look at the super middleweight rankings. This is what everyone talks about. Where does John Ryder rank in there? You see Canelo, obviously, the champion, rightly so. David Benavidez, that's the one everyone keeps talking about, right? The guy that potentially could beat Canelo. Caleb Plant there as well. Christian Mbili, watch out for him. A Cameroonian fighter now based in France. David Morrell, who was actually on the undercard of Ryan Garcia. Tank looked fantastic. And then John Ryder as fifth. A lot of people question this fight. I know it's a mandatory, but a lot of people say, well, where's John Ryder in the rankings? There you go. That's the Ring magazine rankings there. He rightly gets the opportunity to challenge number one.
That's what you say there, rightly. I mean, what you got to do to deserve your shot. Don't get me wrong. Look, I understand he's not recognised, nowhere near in the same ilk as Canelo, but he's done the right thing. Look, I agree with you. I feel he beat Callum Smith, and there's levels in this, but he fought Callum Smith in Callum's own backyard. We know how, you know, passionate the Scousers are, the Liverpool fans, with supporting their own fighters. He went there, and it was a fight I felt he won. This won't be alien for John. Well, in some degrees it will be. Don't get me wrong. I know this is going to be tough. You know, they're going to be, you know, calling for his blood, JR's blood in Guadalajara. But still, look, this is going to be the best John Ryder we've ever seen. No doubt about it. You know, I know Tony Sims, John Ryder's coach. He was my coach. And speaking, you know, away from cameras, personally to each other, he said it's the fittest he's been, the hardest he's been punching. It's the best he's sparred. This is the best John Ryder. If John Ryder's ever to beat Canelo,
now.
It would be now.
Jess, me and you were at Canelo Golovkin. I think, remember, we spoke after. Even Canelo Bivol as well. Has there been any slippage? I asked the guys, Zach and Barack, and they say no, there's been no slippage. He's still exactly where he was and has been for the last 10 years. Are you seeing any signs whatsoever of a little bit of decline in Canelo?
I mean, usually when you see some kind of decline, you see it in their fight game. You see it in their training. You see the distractions that they have in their life. And, you know, they're on social media with bad news and different things. And we haven't seen that with Canelo. So I don't necessarily think that he has any slippage. I do agree that there's different things out there that can change someone's perspective of boxing and what they're doing, but I don't think I see that in Canelo. And speaking towards the mandatory, I feel like this is a very respectful mandatory. Sometimes, like, they come up with people and you're like, who is this person?
Where's this one come from?
Right, like who said what to who to get this person as the mandatory? But I think this is a very respectful mandatory.
Yeah, let's see how John Ryder gets on. It is a tough task, and Darren said there he's speaking to Tony Sims, and Tony Sims is confident. Let's hear from John Ryder himself now. Chris Mannix caught up with him.
So, John, it was about 2 years ago, you were in Dallas for the Canelo-Billy Joe Saunders fight. You weren't there to fight. You were effectively there as the backup in case Billy Joe Saunders wasn't able to fight. Did you imagine that 2 years later you'd be getting this opportunity?
That was always the dream, and I feel like I've earned it now. I mean, being there as a replacement if one of them got ill or if anything happened, Billy Joe gave me a good head start on that with obviously the scandal of the ring size and whatnot. I was boarding a plane to Dallas and was getting all these messages through about Billy Joe's pulling out because of a ring. So it gave me the bigger profile to when I landed, and a lot more questions were being asked. But I feel like I've really earned this shot now. I'm not being handed it. I've gone away. I've got good wins under my belt, and I'm a WBA manager now. I'm an interim champion, so I'm fully deserving of this shot.
Yeah, there's no question. It is an opportunity, but it is one you've earned over the last year. You had a quality win over Daniel Jacobs. You beat Zach Parker to become the interim champion. You've got 5 losses on your resume, but it feels like you're peaking as a fighter right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, after the year of 2019, I felt like I'd really hit my peak. And obviously, what with COVID and lockdown restrictions and one fight a year for the next 2 years, you often wonder if that time's passed you up. But, obviously, last year was a great year for me with wins over Danny Jacobs and Zach Parker, so I feel like I've still got it there in the tank. If anything, it's prolonged my career.
You've fought in front of some great crowds, great atmospheres in your professional career. Probably nothing going to be like this in front of 40, 50,000 plus here in Mexico, all pulling for the other guy. How do you prepare for something like that?
I suppose you turn boos into cheers in your head, and that's why you have to be a little bit numb to it. Listen, I think the Mexican fans are real fight fans, and I think as long as they're seeing a good fight, then they'll cheer regardless. They'll start booing. They'll start booing their own if it's a lackluster fight and not much is going on. So I think as long as we're putting on a good show, they'll be happy.
Is there any way to prepare for it? Because I remember when Rocky Fielding fought Canelo at the Garden, it felt like Rocky Fielding was overwhelmed by the moment. How do you avoid that? How do you avoid being overwhelmed by the moment?
I think just live in the moment. Just bear in mind, it's just you and him in the ring. There can be 50,000 Mexicans outside of it, but in that ring, it's just you and him.
It's a broad question, but how do you beat Canelo Alvarez, a guy that's only been beat a couple of times?
I think just like the best version of myself, front foot forward, do what we've trained to do, implement a good game plan that we've worked on in the gym, me and Tony, and just really go out there and put on a performance.
You spent some time in camp with Joe Cordino, who just won a title in his last time out. How has this camp been good for you?
It's been fantastic. I mean, to get away, spent time up in Essex, living with Joe Cordino. It was good just to dial in. Both had that common goal. He wanted to regain his world title. My aim to become undisputed. So just the conversation was different. It was all about just spurring each other on and listen, he's kept his end of the deal. Now it's up to me.
Do you feel like you can win a decision in Mexico?
Yeah, I think all this that you're not going to be judged fairly. I think we saw Bivol got judged fairly. I know that was in Vegas, but
I'd argue he wasn't judged fairly. I thought he won that fight a little more lopsided than the judges scored it.
Yeah, I suppose, but we're forgetting that he got a decision. There was nothing to suggest that it was as close as it should be. Do you know what I mean? I think I've got to trust in the judges. If I'm going in there solely for a knockout, it's going to be a hard night for myself, and I'm going to make a hard night's work. You've got to give respect to the man, but I believe with the right game plan, we can go in there and cause the upset.
What would a win mean for you?
It changed my life, changed my family's life, and I mean, you think this fight's big, wait until the rematch.
Well, good luck in this one, John.
Thank you.
Seems confident, doesn't he? Seems confident. Look, we're never going to know until you get in the ring, but it doesn't seem like this is consuming him. I've seen a lot of fighters lead up to big fights in the interviews, and you can start to see them, maybe the nerves kick in a little bit. He seems like he's there.
Do you know, with John, I think he's experienced the good, the bad, the ugly. Nothing is new to John. You know, and you said it there off air. He has this sort of deadpan expression. Nothing really bothers him, and that's true to his person. He doesn't. He's never overawed. He's not an idiot either. He understands the magnitude of this task. He's not an idiot. I've seen somewhere that Canelo says he's going to get this done within 6. Is the tactics to sort of weather the early storm and come on strong. This is a different style altogether for Canelo. I know he's been in with everybody and experienced most styles, but John has a completely different style to a lot. I mean, we've seen how dangerous he is with that lead right hook.
Darren, hold on 2 seconds, Dad. Darren, hold on 2 seconds. There's a bit of a problem with your mic. We're going to get that sorted. Jess, when you look at sort of this footage, I know Darren says he's not been there against someone like John Ryder, but he has experienced everything, hasn't he, Canelo? I mean, every style, every size, height, southpaw, orthodox, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I almost feel like he has seen a John Ryder. John Ryder hasn't seen a Canelo before.
I think that is an accurate statement, but I also think that some of the things that you look for are outside of the ring. I keep mentioning outside of the ring, just how, Canelo says, I'm going to get this done in 6. Okay, so that's a tactic. All day, that's a tactic. I'm going to tell this guy I'm going to knock him out, and then maybe that'll throw him off his game. Or, how he's coming in, Ryder's coming in with deadpan. So Canelo might be like, oh my gosh, I'm not even getting to this guy. He's not shook, like he's coming for me. He's like death stare. So there's a lot of tactics outside of the ring too that each other have to kind of deal with, which have been seen before, but facing it day before the fight, that's something else.
Yeah, he's the Brit basher, isn't he, Canelo? I mean, this will be number 8 if he gets the job done tomorrow. He's destroyed so many Brits over the years. And it's funny, when you look at all those Brits, the one that probably performed the best against him, surprisingly, if you look at the names, Matthew Hatton. He's the one that maybe, went all the way and I wouldn't say caused Canelo some problems, but maybe surprised Canelo. And I do wonder if maybe John Ryder's coming on the outside and maybe can offer a bit of a surprise element.
Yeah, maybe. Look, I like those sort of stats. Being a supporter of John Ryder, I like those stats because eventually all good things come to an end. This might be the Brit. Look, again, it doesn't get much tougher. But look, that's what makes this sport so great. The odd upset, and it would be special. It really would.
Jess, what's it like being in these really big super fights? You was in it back-to-back with Cecilia Braccas. Mm-hmm. Sort of the pressure going into the ring, knowing that this is the one, right? This is the big one I've been waiting for. What's John going to be feeling walking into that ring on Saturday?
Well, I think he's had some big fights before, and that's a part of the professionalism of boxing is knowing that you're going to have to kind of perform. You're going to have interviews and lots of pictures, and there's so many other things that you have to do outside of training and outside of actually fighting in the ring. So it's all part of the business, and you have to grow with it. And if you don't grow with it, you're going to fall out of sorts in one way or another. It's going to affect your game. So you have to make sure that this stuff doesn't affect you.
We're moments away from the weigh-in. We are going to see Canelo and John Ryder go face-to-face. But first, let's hear from the undisputed super middleweight champion, Canelo Alvarez. Chris Mannix caught up with him.
So, Canelo, it has been nearly 12 years since you last fought here in Mexico. Not only are you back in Mexico, but you get a fight in your hometown of Guadalajara. What's it been like this week being back here?
I'm excited to fight here in my hometown. The people support me from the beginning, so I'm glad to be here in my hometown, and I'm happy. I'm happy with the response of my people.
What kind of memories does it bring back being back here?
Oh, I remember when I fought in the little arenas, and now look how big is this, and it's just an honor. It's an honor, and I'm happy to still and continue make history. And now bringing this kind of fight to my hometown is like grateful for my people.
You grew up watching big outdoor fights, Chavez, Morales. Now you get one of your own. What does it mean to you to have that kind of atmosphere?
No, it means a lot. It means a lot because at the end of the day, I just want to make history, and this is one of my history. So it's like I say, it's an honor to be in front of my people, and the response of the people is just amazing.
You had surgery on your hand last fall. How is it?
Oh, it's good. It's really good. I'm motivated because now I am able to train 100%, and that's made me feel confident and made me motivate myself.
You mentioned that hand had been bothering you for a while before.
Like 2 years, 3 years, but like, as a fighter, one more fight, but it is what it is, and now I'm like I say, I'm happy to be able to train 100%.
Do you think that affected your past performances, having that hand injury?
I think affect in everything because it's boxing. I need my hands on 100%, but I have the skills to handle with one hand, right? But at the end of the day, at the end of this past year, I don't available to train 100%. That made me not going to 100% in that fight.
You took the loss to Dmitry Bivol last year. You beat Gennady Golovkin, but I think a lot of people expected you to maybe dominate a little more.
Yeah.
That's led to some people say maybe Canelo is past his prime. Maybe Canelo is on the decline. Do you still feel you're at your best?
Yeah, I'm in my best, and I'm the best fighter out there. I lose with one of the best fighter in 175. So, and I'm trying to do history, to do everything different to other fighters, go up and down in weight classes. So it's not easy, but I like challenge, and I feel in my best, and you're gonna see.
Is it motivating to you to feel like people are questioning whether you're still the best?
No, I feel I'm in my best, and I feel good. I feel good. I feel in my prime, and you're gonna see.
There have been some rumors out there that maybe you're fighting back here because this could be your last fight. Is there any chance this is your last fight?
No, you look, if John Ryder beat me, so I'm done, right? But it's not my last fight. I'm gonna continue in boxing for a long time.
What do you have left to prove in boxing?
No, I just want to continue make history like the big fights out there. And right now my sure goal term is the fight with Dmitry Bivol, and then we'll see.
First up is John Ryder. I think a lot of people are not expecting much from John Ryder because they look at his record. What are you expecting from Ryder?
No, I just train for the best fighter out there. I don't want to be like so much confident because that they say the same thing with Dmitry Bivol, and look, he's a good fighter. So I train 100% for the best fighter out there, and like I say, if I lose with John Ryder, then I'm done, right?
Canelo, welcome back.
Thank you.
Fantastic interview that was. Look how cool Mr. Canelo Alvarez is. You wouldn't know this is the guy walking into a weigh-in and about to have war in 24 hours, got the wonderful D&G pajamas, I'm going to call it, on as he walks to the ring. Very confident, wasn't he, in that interview? Said some really strong things there, just about where he is. I'm still the best. And what I liked about it as well, he said, you know what, obviously my focus is on John Ryder, but I want Dimitri Bivol.
Yeah, I mean, a fight that people think he can't win, and this is his signature look here with the pajamas. I mean, I think that what was most profound about that...
Have you got one of those? Barack's got a lot of D&G stuff. Barack, you be getting a D&G hookup you're not telling us about?
Are you saying I steal mine? But in any case, what he said was that if he loses to John Ryder, he's done. I mean, Manis asked him, listen, there's rumors that saying that this is your last fight, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, Bivol is on his mind, that's on his list. He wants to avenge that loss. But the confidence for him to say, if I lose this fight, I'm done, it just tells you what he thinks of John Ryder and what he thinks of himself.
Yeah. What is, and look, this is not looking past John Ryder, because I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a competitive fight for a few rounds. What's the biggest fight out there for him next, Canelo? Is it Bivol at 175, because he spoke about, I don't want to drain him down to 168, or is it Benavidez at 168? What's the bigger fight?
Say biggest, what do you mean?
In terms of, again, that resume.
Just popularity, something for legacy.
Yeah.
I think it makes more sense Benavidez. Yeah. A lot of people know that he's small for that weight class. Though it would be great to avenge that loss, right? Yeah. I mean, it would make him even greater going up to 175, beating a champion like Bivol. But the young lion, the young Mexican monster, right, that people are saying there's no way Canelo can beat him. Yeah. Mexico versus Mexico, I think that's a much bigger fight overall, but still Bivol is huge.
By the way, look at these scenes as well. I mean, just to be there. I mean, as soon as Canelo jumps on that stage, the place is going to erupt, right? That's exactly what Canelo does. We've been talking about the face of boxing, and I kind of laughed and joked and said it's Tank or it could be Tank. Canelo really is. Canelo really is the face of boxing still, isn't he? And he's going to have something to prove. He'll weigh in about sort of 5 or 10 minutes with Canelo and John Ryder on stage. But this is what Canelo wants, isn't he? He wanted to go back home, get the love of his people, and put on a show, and I think he's going to do that tomorrow.
I think so too, but I was talking about the pressure. I think the pressure is because he's home and he wants to win the love of the people. I think that the people are just acting happy now, but these are the same people that criticized him for being compared to Julio Cesar Chavez. The same people.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has Bivol on his mind, so Ryder is somebody he has to get through. And he said that before, you're in my way of the bigger goal. He's not going to let that disrupt him. Not to say that anything can happen in the sport, but I don't agree with Barack in terms of pressure. I think he loves this pressure of being home and having those fans in front of him.
I'm going to agree with Barack here. It's not. I don't think there's a pressure for him to win. He's a massive favourite to win the fight. It's a pressure to put on the kind of performance that they want to see. I think Darren Barker joked and said they want to see blood. They're going to want to see something special from Canelo. A points win for these Mexican fans maybe won't be enough.
How often do we not see a special performance from Canelo Alvarez? We know the Triple G fight was maybe a little anticlimactic because we didn't get the knockout people were predicting. I don't know why people were predicting a stoppage with a guy like Gennady Golovkin.
Who's never been stopped.
Who's never been even hurt.
Never been down.
Never been hurt. I've never seen him stumble. So I never expected a knockout. It was a dominant performance. Obviously, outside of the Bivol loss, he's been stopping and dominating guys. Nothing has been lackluster.
By the way, we showed you what it's like inside the venue. This is outside. Wow. A lot of people maybe thought that maybe Canelo only had those fans inside. This is what's outside.
Those are the ones
waiting
that could
for Canelo,
inside.
just to see if they can get a glimpse of their hero, Canelo. If you ever thought that Canelo wasn't popular in Mexico?
No, I think that person right there is a John Ryder fan.
Yeah, there's a John Ryder fan.
You missed him. You missed him.
There is.
But I love the way Darren Barker he had like an underdog speech. You saw it? It was wonderful. John Ryder's probably going to lose, but Darren Barker kind of made me think.
He gave you some hope?
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how he did that, but he did.
Yeah, look, it has been, look, Southpaw, it's been a while since he's fought a Southpaw.
That's a good point.
Look, we know.
What did he do with the last Southpaw?
Billy Joe Saunders. We
broke
know,
his face.
Yeah. But we also know that, although he got to that round, you're right, where he broke his face, Billy Joe Saunders' movement did cause him some problems. Right. John's maybe not got that same movement. No. But it did take him a while to kind of work out this Southpaw because it's been a long time since he fought one.
But maybe John Ryder's tough enough to last 12 rounds. And if we know that he needs a knockout, maybe it won't be a moral victory for him in front of his people, when you know that's what they want to see, if John Ryder can last the 12 rounds.
Yeah. How nice is it, though, to see Canelo go back home? We know that he can fill up the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. We know he can go to Dallas, the Cowboy Stadium, and to put big numbers in there. To go home, 50,000. to see him fight, which is a rarity now. How good is it to see a fighter go back home?
No, bro, we don't care. We want him to fight here.
No, he's doing it for his people. I mean, a lot of those folks can't go to Dallas. They can't go to Vegas for this fight. And he said it even from the beginning, even when he signed the DAZN, that he wants his fans to be able to see his fights. This is an opportunity where I'm pretty sure the tickets are not going to be too expensive. Yeah. People are going to have an opportunity to come watch their hero live. He's doing it solely for his people.
Yeah, look, Diamante is going to be on stage, and you know what Diamante does when he takes it up another level as well. This place, honestly, the noise from this venue is going to be incredible. It's just to see them go face to face. I know what's crazy. When John Ryder stepped up to 168, I thought John Ryder was too small for 168. He's bigger than Canelo. Yes. We're going to see it. You guys are going to see it on the scales now. He's a couple of inches taller than Canelo, which goes to your point, Barack. Yeah. Canelo's fighting way out of his division. He really is. I mean, there's 154 pounders that walk around bigger than Canelo.
I mean, this is greatness, and I kind of understand what Canelo was saying to Chris Mannix, like, oh, I know I got a loss, and what we usually do is put the guy that doesn't have the loss on the top of the list. But understand that I lost in 175. Yeah. You understand how small I am. I'm chasing greatness. Now, I think Terence Crawford is great, and he's probably on the pound-for-pound list most guys, the top guy. But he hasn't had that opportunity to fight the great ones at that division, right?
Yeah, and when you think about 168 pounds, how many guys will go up to 175 to fight Dimitri Bivol? How many guys at 168 are willing to do that? Nobody's been willing to do it. And and that was coming from middleweight.
You know what's crazy as well? I mean, we talk about him being undersized for 160, and this guy was talking about going to fight Makabu over 200. He wanted to be a 5-weight world champion. But this is a guy that, as you say, is striving for greatness.
But that's also a guy who you can't question his desire, because if he accomplishes something, he'll just set a new goal that's even higher.
What's left? You know, obviously, look, he wants to go down as one of the all-time greats. That's there. That's rock solid in there. Now you start to look at that top 10, top 15 placement. What can get him in that? Is it a Benavidez? Is it a Bivol 175? Is it a Beterbiev? What gets you into that top 10 echelon?
I mean, in my opinion, I think the Bivol win will do a lot for himself.
At 175?
No, at 175, but also just for the greatness that Barack was talking about. Him actually going up there. We all know he beat Kovalev at 175, big knockout victory. But being a guy who is young as vicious as Bivol, I think it's almost a bigger win than a Benavidez win in terms of what he's been able to do, right? Moving up in weight classes. Yes. What's next for him? I mean, if he would have avenged that loss, imagine him maybe finalizing, going up the cruiserweight, fighting Batlu Jack after beating Makabu.
All right, guys, we're ready. David Diamante's got the mic and he's about to do his thing. It is time for the weigh-in. Let's cross over to David Diamante to introduce both fighters for us.
Sábado por la noche. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, for the official weigh-in for the main event of the evening. As Canelo Promotions, Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing, y Clase y Talento are proud to present 12 rounds of boxing for the undisputed super middleweight championship of the world. And now making his way to the stage, please welcome the challenger, El Retador. He's a southpaw with a professional record of 32 victories, 5 defeats. He has 18 wins coming by way of knockout. He fights out of Islington, North London, England. Here is the former WBA and the reigning WBO interim super middleweight world champion. Here's the gritty, game, and rugged mandatory challenger, the Gorilla, John Ryder. And his opponent now making his way to the stage. He is the defending undisputed world champion. His professional record, 58 victories, 2 defeats, 2 draws, with 39 wins coming by way of knockout. Ganó su primer título mundial hace 12 años. Peleó por última vez en Guadalajara hace 12 años. Sábado noche celebramos el regreso de El Rey a casa. Here is the 4-division world champion and the reigning, defending, undisputed, super medio campeón del mundo, peleando fuera, Guadalajara, Jalisco, México, el amado, querido y talentoso tapatío, el orgullo del pueblo mexicano, Saúl Canelo Alvarez.
Escucho cantar a un gallo en tierra de San Agustín, de familia honrada y muy atenta, jaliscienses 100% y mexicanos hasta el fin. Y a su corta edad lo tiene todo, más de lo que pudo imaginar. Hoy por hoy no tiene competencia y se los voy a platicar. Que corrían de las escuelas porque nunca se dejó. Aprendió a pelear como se debe, se salió en la secundaria aunque su padre se enojó. Quiso ser igual que Rigoberto, siempre fue un ejemplo para él. Se hizo distinguir en poco tiempo y fue subiendo de nivel. Desde el cielo caen las hojas cuando naces pata mal perseverante, ya traía su plan de vuelo. Como ya no encontraron más rivales, debutó en profesional, por pelirrojo le apodaron. ¡Eso! Hizo en 4 esquinas demostrando su valor. Con un sueño y con un par de guantes vieron que no era cualquiera y que quería ser el mejor. El Cheporrino a su hijo Eric fueron pieza clave en su debut. Siempre lo recuerdan muy travieso, con destreza y actitud. Por el cielo va rompiendo aire, haciendo historia en el deporte, ni se diga en su país. Todos lo conocen por el mundo, muy humilde y alegre, nunca olvida su raíz. Siempre estuvo al margen de la raya, se fajó escalón por escalón. A sus 20 y tantos no han podido derrotar a este campeón. Con su esposa y su familia ya en la perla lo verán. Muy impaciente está que tienta su contrato. ¿Quién será el que sigue y en qué parte muchos se preguntarán? No tengan duda que hay Canelo para rato. Muchas gracias.
And now to the scale, the challenger, El Retador, the gorilla, from Islington, North London, John Ryder. 168 pounds, 168 libras, 168 pounds for John Ryder. And now to the scale, Saúl Canelo Alvarez. $167.5, 167.5 pounds for the reigning, defending, undisputed super middleweight champion of the world.
A pound?
Nah, not a pound, but it's heavy though. It's a half a pound.
It's interesting to see both of them now. Both of them, Barack, look in fantastic shape. Canelo always comes in shape. I've never seen him out of shape, even when he's not in fight camp. John Ryder, though, looks in really good shape as well.
What about the fact that we had to wait for the song to finish for those guys to get on the scale?
Yeah, I think it's like what Darren Barker said. He said we're going to see the best.
The best version of John, surely. Yeah, this
version of John Ryder there is. So he's going to come in shape. But I think John Ryder always comes in shape.
Well, these guys are identical. I mean, he might have Canelo by an inch or so, but their physique, their body, their structure, it's almost the same. I mean, this is when the turn up goes. The smiling is gun smiling, dumb friendly handshakes.
Look, you know when they always say, like, you know, the face-off gives you something? I have to admit, like, I don't think I've seen any slippage in John. Like, John looks confident. He's not blinking away. He's not turning away. All week he's been very focused.
Right. It won't help him in the fight, but still, I agree with you. I mean, I think he's not budging in terms of being intimidated about where he is, the type of fighter that he's fighting. But this stuff is good, man. I mean, they didn't shake hands. I like the fact that I don't like when fighters shake hands after the stare down after a weigh-in.
Yeah, no.
I like that. Here he goes.
I bet they shake hands. Oh, shoot.
No handshake.
No handshake.
Canelo doesn't mind shaking hands, usually.
Canelo means business, right? He means business. People have questioned him. People like Adi Oladipo have said there's a little slippage there. And he's like, I'm ready to show you. I'm ready to show you, Mr. Adi Oladipo, Saturday night, live on DAZN pay-per-view, that there is no slippage.
I don't need no handshake at this point right now. It's all business.
Look, there's never a better picture in boxing than that picture. Undisputed, all the belts.
Champion holding all the belts.
Never anything better. And this is why Canelo has to fight John Ryder. Remember, John Ryder is a mandatory. One of those belts will go if you don't defend it. And Canelo wants to remain mandatory.
I mean, look at this theater. I mean, how many stories are up there? People are watching this win. I mean,
I have to agree with you, Ade, that you haven't seen any slippage in John Ryder, but you got to understand. I think his resting face just looks mean.
Yeah.
No, but also, and I believe that he has like an ugly, mean-looking resting face, like a mean pit bull. He's like a pit bull, but he's also in a country where literally nobody wants him to win. So it keeps you on edge.
Is there a bit of, and he's right to have this, but is there a bit of overconfidence with Canelo when he said things like, if I lose to John Ryder, I'm done. I'm going to get him out of there by round 6. Is there a bit of overconfidence, maybe a bit of disrespect to John Ryder there?
No, that means that that's how much he expects from himself. He understands the type of fighter he is and who he's fighting, and he's saying to himself, listen, if I can't beat this guy, though he's a good fighter, I mean, I don't need to be at this elite level anymore, and if he's not fighting elite, then Canelo's not going to be in boxing.
I don't even think that. I think that he didn't expect that question from Chris Mannix, because I think the rumors are he wants to quit and go play golf professionally. He didn't expect the question. He was just joking, like, yeah, if I lose, that's the only way.
How much would he be loving this? Obviously, look, when he fights in Vegas, it is 99% Mexicans anyway.
Yeah.
But to be back home, where it all started, he seems to be in such good spirits. He's not leaving. We're hopefully going to hear from Canelo in a couple of minutes. But he's taking it all in. He's really enjoying this, isn't he?
It's been a long time since he fought there. And remember, last time he fought there, he wasn't this mega star that he is. So he's enjoying it. I mean, he's happy. He looks very happy and in shape.
Look, we're in America now, so when you're dealing with a fighter, he can have two legacies if he's not from America. He can have a legacy in his own country, which usually every foreign fighter has. But Canelo already has the legacy here cemented in America. He wants that legacy in Mexico. He wants the people to love him the way they love him in America.
Yeah, this seems to be his want, right? I keep asking you guys, what's he want now? And I guess the want for him is to kind of take over Julio Cesar Chavez, who he clearly respects as the greatest Mexican. Some people maybe feel with the CV he's already done it, but in terms of the eyes of the Mexican public, Julio Cesar Chavez is still number one.
Well, he's clearly has done it. I mean, he's achieved so much more than Chavez Sr. He's won so many titles in different divisions, skill-wise. Overall, he's a way better fighter. I'm going to say, I've said it before, better than Julio Cesar Chavez. But I think that's a false narrative. They love him in Mexico. Remember, he's not a Mexican-American like Oscar de la Hoya. This guy's not he was born and raised in Mexico in those streets. Yeah, there's some fans that, had some issues. I mean, he moved to San Diego. He's getting a little Americanized, but he's still Mexican at heart. Most Mexican fans love this dude, and I don't think that he has a problem in Mexico.
All right, that's coming up tomorrow. It's a big one. Obviously, remember, live on the DAZN pay-per-view, Canelo versus John Ryder. What's coming up, though, next week, the week after, is a big one as well. KSI versus Joe Fournier, X-Series 007, Over Arena, Wembley. I'll be there.
For X-Series 007, live on the DAZN pay-per-view. 2 unbroken records, ready to be shattered.
I want to have a scrap with the guy.
2 unbreakable mindsets, set to collide in the ring.
Knock him out, clean.
Fists will fly like sharks. Will break. X-Series 007, they have a license to thrill, but only one will be broken. May 13th, live only on the DAZN pay-per-view. Sign up at DAZN.com.
From Wembley's Over Arena next Saturday with the headline belt, seeing a return of KSI as he faces Joe Fournier. And then there's more crossover action August the 5th. Jake Paul gloves up once again. This time, though, he takes on former UFC star Nate Diaz. Both of those events are live on the DAZN on pay-per-view. Again, by the magic of TD, Ak and Barak have gone. In comes Darren Barker to kind of play a bit of equal it out a bit for me, please, Darren. Chester McCaskill's with us as well. Let's start with you, Darren. John looked really good on the scales.
Looked brilliant. Like I said, this is going to be the best John Ryder. It's going to have to be the best John Ryder. But the shot I love there is the shot of, like you said, Canelo with all the belts. If you're John Ryder looking at that, that's what you want.
You need that extra bit of motivation,
You've got to remember,
right?
this is sport at the end of the day. You aspire for that shot. You aspire for all of those belts. I mean, you've got to achieve that. It's the pinnacle.
Jess has had the win.
Jess
knows what that feeling is
like. It is the
like.
pinnacle. And for John to stand there, he'll be nervous. He'll be soaking it all up. But that's his dream right there in front of him.
A long time ago, Rick Ramos cut my head off and put it on the Cecilia picture where she was holding all the belts. And then years later, I fought her and took all her belts. So
what's it like? Talk to us about that feeling of holding all of them. You've done it at 147. What is that feeling?
It's a weird feeling because people want to say, like, here, you just got done fighting, right? So you go 10 rounds as a female, you're tired. They're like, here, hold all the belts, and they throw them all on you. And they're like, can you raise them up so we can see what you're like? You know, so it's a great feeling, to be honest. It's a great problem to have, so it's good.
Yeah. What's he feeling like now? You're very close with John. What's he like? What's Tony going to be doing backstage? What happens between now and the fight?
I think it'd be quite laid back, relaxed. All the hard work's done now. It's time to show the world how good you are and try your absolute best to implement a game plan and prove you're the better fighter. Again, it doesn't get much more difficult. But look, I don't think there'll be any stresses there whatsoever. Be nice, calm, relaxed, and to be honest, they'll be eager to get in there.
All right, look, Chris Mannix has caught up with John Ryder. Let's hear what he has to say. This is fresh off the scales. Let's hear from the Islington man.
John, you made the weight, got the weigh-in over with. How are you feeling?
Feeling good. I'm raring to go now. Get back to the hotel, get some weight back on, and look forward to tomorrow night.
How confident are you in your game plan going into this fight?
Extremely. I've got a great coach in Tony Sims, a great tactician, a real underrated coach, but he's the man.
What's the key to beating Canelo Alvarez?
Just being sensible, not getting overawed. We all know what he's got, the aura that surrounds him, but just not getting overawed, not letting the fans get in your head, and just staying focused.
You had about 300 fans out there for the weigh-in. You'll have exponentially more when you get to the stadium on Saturday. How do you feel you'll handle that moment?
Listen, I think this is what I've been born to do, and I finally got my chance to show it, and I don't plan on wasting it.
Good luck, John.
Thank you.
Short, straight to the point there. John Ryder's going to go to the hotel, rehydrate, get some food in him. What do you think he comes in the ring at? What do you think? 180, 185?
Yeah, I'd say so. It'll be big, it'll be strong, it'll be solid. That's for sure. It'll be solid. He's going to have to be.
Yeah, he's going to have to be. What's he feeling like now, Jess? He's so close away.
Well, there's a little bit of mix because, like you said, all the hard work's done. But we heard the UK fans in the crowd.
We heard them.
You guys love a chant, and you get that chant going. And so when you know that there's people there for you that traveled so far for you, then it's just kind of like an overwhelming feeling that you have to kind of like muffle just a little bit so that you keep focused and stay on the game plan.
Aside from the fans, and Jess makes a good point there, he's in a good camp as well, isn't he? He spoke earlier about Joe Cordina coming off that good win against Shavkat Rakhimov. Tony Sims' camp is probably the best camp right now in the UK. They all motivate each other. That surely must help a little bit.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you've heard the saying loads of times, success breeds success. And
iron sharpens iron.
Exactly, and that's the case in that gym. They all buzz off of each other, they thrive off each other, they support each other, but they all want to outdo each other. Now John wants to go one better than Joe Cordina, who put on a tremendous display to be two-time world champion, beating Rakhimov in Cardiff. Now he wants to go one better, John, to outdo his teammate. They love each other, they care for each other, but trust me, John will be looking to outdo Joe. But yeah, he's in a good place.
Yeah, that's John. Canelo looked comfortable, didn't he? Looked so relaxed in those silk D&G pajamas. It's just almost like a walk in the park for him. He's done it so many times.
And one thing, when you're at the pinnacle of where Canelo is, you know you can take your time. You don't have to rush. Somebody's holding your shirt for you. Like, you know, it's the most comfortable position that you can be in at that level. So there's no reason for him to feel shook or off balance. Like, he's got so many people just kind of watching his back. Whereas John Ryder, you know, he's got his team, and his team is close, and you have some fans, and so you just feed off of what you have.
Yeah. Look, guys, thank you very much. We're going to see you both tomorrow. We've heard from John Ryder. I think it's time that we hear from the champion. Chris Mannix caught up with Saul Canelo Alvarez.
Well, Canelo, you fought in many great atmospheres, but have you started to think about what it's going to be like to step into that stadium in front of 50,000 of your fans tomorrow night?
No, it's going to be different for sure. It's going to be different. The vibes, everything is going to be different, but I'm glad to be here. I'm proud to be here, and I'm just enjoying the moment because, you know, it's amazing how the people support me, and I'm proud about it, and I'm going to bring my best Saturday night.
You had a tough year last year. You took a loss. You had the hand surgery. You had people dropping you in the pound-for-pound rankings. It was just 2 weeks ago where people were saying there's a new face of boxing out there in Gervonta Davis. How eager are you to get back out there and show exactly who you are?
No, I'm still here. I'm still here. You know, I lost with one of the best fighters in 175, and I'm still here. I'm the face of boxing for sure. The numbers talk, and that's it. It's not that easy being in this position a long time. So I'm here and for a long time, and I'm gonna show everybody.
Good luck, Canelo.
Thank you.
And now entering the arena,
both of these women are champions, and they're fighting like champions.
What a sensational finish.
But the very, very good solid work for Rocha.
I want the legacy, you know, achieve my dream.
Tijuana, Mexico, Jaime Munguia.
Jason Quigley.
Quigley attacking.
So, Nate Diaz, fight me. You're the top creme de la creme right here. I'm coming for you.
What an incredible schedule of events and fights we've got coming up. Next weekend, it's Destination London for X Series 7, headlined by KSI versus Joe Fournier. By the way, Anthony Taylor versus Salt Pappy, fight not to be missed on that card. May 20th, we're in Dublin for the homecoming. Katie Taylor takes on Chantel Cameron. A week later, the venue is Nottingham as Lee Wood battles Marissa O'Lara for the WBA featherweight title. Repeat or revenge should be a classic. And on June 3rd, Clarissa Shields takes on Hannah Gabriels in the first defense of her undisputed middleweight crown. Akam Barak, back with us in the studio. Good to see Canelo. You know what I love about Canelo now? The fact that he speaks English. I think it's just taken up another level. I know some people prefer him to speak Spanish still, but I love when he speaks English because I just feel like it just opens up another Canelo for us.
I love what he said to Chris there about being, and it put things in perspective for me about how long he's been at this top level. He said, it's not easy being in this position for this long. You're talking about 8, 9 years possibly since 2015. This guy has been at the top of the sport. When you talk about Floyd, he says, oh, I've been in this 20 years, but at an elite level was probably since 2007, so around 10 years. So this guy's been at the top of the game.
It's incredible, isn't it? And that's why this is so comfortable for him. For John Ryder, this is a new experience. Yes, he's been in big fights, Callum Smith, Danny Jacobs, but nothing like this. Where for Canelo, this is every single fight now. This is normal. Yeah.
For double-digit years, he's been in front of thousands.
It's crazy.
I mean, you fought Floyd Mayweather when you were 23 years old. There's nothing. That's a circus.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can see.
Even before that, I mean, fought Austin Trout with 40,000 people in Texas before that fight at 21 years old. This guy's been fighting in front of big audiences for a very long time.
Yeah, it's funny.
But like I say, it is Mexico at the height of his career, so it's going to be a little bit different. I think it's going to be on his mind.
Can we just both get to the most important question here? What do you think of Eddie's top there?
With the
how are we grading that top?
He only get a pass if Canelo bought it for him to wear it.
Yeah, if Canelo
he had no choice.
Yeah. If he went to the shop and bought that for this way, and then we might have an issue with it.
Yeah, because Eddie usually does the right thing.
He does it right.
That shirt was a...
I think he might have got it just wrong. There you go. I mean, look,
just wrong.
What we grade? I'm grading it. I'm thinking that's a solid 2 out of 10.
I give it a 4. I give it a 4.
A 4? You're generous.
No, I think when you wear something like that, you're not.
But it's pajama day.
You're not getting rate.
Canelo has made the weigh-in a pajama day, so he's paying homage to Canelo. To Barack's point, if he bought it, it's okay. If he went out and bought that shirt himself, I'm going to have a discussion with Eddie about that one.
Indeed. 2 men who have very questionable fashion taste. Sergio Mora and Chris Mannix. Let's get their final thoughts.
All right, Sergio, we are minutes away from the Canelo Alvarez, John Ryder weigh-in. We are inside Teatro de Goiás.
Okay, we've seen that one. We are going to come back. It's coming. Trust me, it is coming.
I think they're changing their outfits because of what you said.
I don't blame them. I don't blame them for changing their outfits.
That was
That's
harsh.
something I would
That
say.
was harsh.
That was evil.
It is questionable fashion, though, isn't it? It really is. Not for my guy Sergio. Chris, though. That's the question.
I mean, are you comparing him to Sean Porter, or is there...
No. God. Not at all. Not Sean. I think the boys are ready for us. Let's hear from Mr. Questionable Fashion Taste, Chris Mannix and Sergio Mora.
All right, Sergio, well, that's it. Both fighters made weight. Both fighters had their stare down. Now we just have to wait 24 hours until we get Canelo Alvarez and John Ryder in the ring. And that should be an incredibly intense atmosphere on Saturday.
It should be. And, you know, the thing about Mexican fans, the Mexican passion, we've been across the pond. We know the Brits are rabid boxing fans, but we're getting a different sense of it. We still have the excitement. We still have the electricity in there, but there's something magical because we've seen all the students out there. You know, Canelo made it a point to have a bunch of young kids, most of the young kids and students out there. It's passionate. Just watching him on the dais up there making weight, I mean, everyone's excited. It's electric. I can't wait for tomorrow night.
You know, I was just talking to Canelo moments ago, and one of the things he said was, look, I'm still the face of boxing. Yes. I do think that over the last, few months, as we've seen Canelo absorb a loss, we've seen him fall from the pound-for-pound rankings. We've seen Tank Davis emerge as a competitor for the face of boxing. I think that's fueling him going into this fight, don't you?
No, definitely. And he was quoted saying that Tank had a great performance. He's one of his favorite fighters, but you need to do a lot more than just have one spectacular knockout. You got to do it over and over and over against the best. That's one thing that Tank is not doing. Yet he is a star, but he's not the face yet. That man right there is still the face of boxing.
So what kind of fight are you expecting tomorrow night between Canelo and Ryder?
Well, there's a lot of things that can happen. We know that Canelo's coming off an injury. We know that Canelo wants to please and have a great performance here. But we know John Ryder's coming off 2 of the best performances of his career. He's as hungry as they come. He feels he's destined for this moment. I think it's going to be a physical fight, a very physical fight. I think John Ryder's going to want to push back Canelo, test out that arm. I think we see a knockout. We're not going to a decision, but it's going to be a physical fight.
So we know John Ryder has to get on the inside in this fight to win. He's been clear about that as well. How does he do it against a guy as quick and fast as Canelo Alvarez?
Well, timing, and John Ryder has that. He knows how to fight small. That's another thing. Ryder's going to have that, even though he's 1 inch taller than Canelo, compared to the tall fighters and the beasts and the champions that he's been fighting that are 6 foot plus. This is going to be level to level. I think that's going to be an advantage on Ryder. He knows how to close that distance from that southpaw stance, and if he can start getting that right hook going, not only to the head, to the body, I think Canelo, who's very familiar with British fighters and southpaws, I just think Ryder's going to do something.
Any concerns about Canelo coming off the hand injury first fight since surgery?
Yeah, there's always concerns, but fighters are always fighting through injury, so no.
Oh, Sergio, I can tell you, there were like 300 people out there. I met at least one of them that recognized you.
La Serpiente Latina, baby.
Gotta love it. See you tomorrow night.
Love those guys. Obviously, part of the commentary team tomorrow will be joined by Todd Grisham. What did you make of their fashion then? As I said, right?
It looked like they both have the same stylist. Sergio just opens up one more button, and that's about it.
Same. What we haven't really spoken about, and look, we'll have time to talk about it tomorrow, is the undercard. It isn't just Canelo versus John Ryder. Fantastic undercard. I mean, this one, light heavyweight division, not super middleweight. Vosdik versus Bolotnik should be an absolutely fantastic fight, that one. That's pick for fight of the night for me. I really think that's going to be a good one. Rodriguez versus Mejia in the featherweight division should be a good one. Rodriguez unbeaten, looking to keep that O in his record. Golaz versus Spark. Now they've got a common opponent in Montana Love. You might remember Golaz fighting Montana Love went all the way, good one, and Spark, remember the little WWE. Unfortunately, Montana Love just threw him outside. You guys were there. And this one, very good fight as well in the flyweight division. Julio Cesar Martinez versus Batista. So look, good action. It isn't just Canelo versus
with that
John
kind of
Ryder.
crowd. This is going to be the
It's
fight.
going to be a big one. And then obviously for all the marbles at 168 pounds, Saul Canelo Alvarez versus the Islington man, the guy they call the Gorilla, John Ryder, looking to shock the world. Not just the boxing world, the sporting world.
The world.
The world. The world indeed. Barak, as always, thank you very much. Thank you to Jester McCaskill and Darren Barker. We'll all be here for you tomorrow. Make sure you tune in live on the DAZN pay-per-view. We get underway 6 p.m. Eastern time. Can John Ryder shock the world? These guys don't think so. I think you never know. We'll see you tomorrow.
Dear Saul, you're just a kid from Guadalajara like so many of us are. A kid from our streets with nothing to lose. A kid who became something. The undisputed champion of the world. A kid with millions watching every punch and every fall. And thousands following in your footsteps. And with every new opponent, your mentality shines through. No boxing, no life. In darkness and light. Now, this is your moment. In your city, with your titles. But this is also for those that wear the flag. For the kids on our streets. For the kid that you are. You're still that kid from Guadalajara. The kid that became a king. The king is coming home.